Heyo, it's Mr. Otwell, the Math Master, helping you master math, but today we'll be mastering Zoom tips for teachers. I'm excited to share with you my insights on how to use Zoom effectively when leading a discussion or in a classroom setting. I have good tips on how to manage the participants panel to increase student engagement, allow you to get some feedback, so get excited for that. You'll also be able to see what the students are seeing. You'll get a sneak peek into that, as well as just how to manage the chat, good ways to think about controlling that. We want to create a good Zoom classroom management system so that we can effectively communicate and just help our students dig into this new online learning situation. Keep an eye out for my other videos on Zoom tips for teachers. I'll be talking about breakout rooms and other functions Zoom has to really help you out. If you find this video useful, will you please give me a like, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's do this. So the first thing worth mentioning is, how do you change your view? Because you have this view, which is speaker view, but right up here we have gallery view, which in my opinion, this view is much better. You might be like, oh, what is happening? Huh? Mr. Otwell there? Huh? Mr. Otwell there? What? Huh? Ah! Well, it's because I have a little help from my lappy over here. Gonna be showing you what it looks like on multiple screens. I wanted to give you an idea of not only what your screen will look like, but what your student's screen will look like as well. It'll just give a fuller picture of how you want to control your time with your class or, any meeting really. But personally, I like to keep it on gallery view. It gives a nice little Brady Bunch feel when you've got a bunch of little screens out there. But right now, it's just two. For this video, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the speaker view. I just think it'll be easier for you to follow. So here's where you're at. You're wanting to start your teaching on Zoom. You're not quite sure how everything is going to go. Let's just walk through the basics, okay? So down here is your little control panel, all right? What you want to be aware of is this participants button and the chat button. So if you click participants, it brings up this extra window here. And this is assuming you're using the Zoom app on your computer. It shows you a nice list of participants here, which we'll talk more about those details here in a minute. But another button you want to have at your disposal is the chat button. Now, if you click it, you want to be able to see your chat because this is how you'll be able to keep an eye on any student questions or participant questions. At the same time, though, you can be seeing what everyone else is seeing via your screen share and all that good stuff. But I don't really like how it gets just like squished up in those little boxes. If you have two monitors, this will be way better because there's this amazing thing you can do. If you click this little drop down arrow, it gives you the option to pop out the window. If you click that, it then creates this whole separate window that you have and you can move it around wherever you want. Generally, I take this participant window and move it to my second desktop. It just makes it easier so I can keep my eyes on my screen and I can keep an eye on the participants tab, all that good stuff. You can do the same thing with the chat, which I would advise you to do, because if you pop it out, you can move it around on your desktop. And the nice thing is that you can click this bottom right corner here or just hover over it. It turns into this little icon, and then you can resize the chat so that you can have the chat bar as big as you want. So now when students chat, hey, Mr. Otwell, boom, it pops up right here. So I can not only keep an eye on the presentation when my students are talking, all that good stuff, but I can keep an eye on my chat, see if any questions arise. Another thing is you can resize the participants window. You do the same thing, right? You hover over that bottom right corner and then you click and hold it and it allows you to resize the window. Personally, I like to have both of these windows literally on my second monitor. It just makes everything easier, but this might be a general setup I would suggest for you so that you can see the video and all that, but you can also keep an eye on participants and chat while you're in the middle of your class or meeting. Let's take a look at the participants window though, because there's some things that you may want to keep in mind and teach your students how to use, because it will just make the flow of the classes go much quicker. So if you look down here, there's little icons. You can ask a yes or no question if you want, and the students can click that. They also have these other options, but what I think would be good to keep in mind is if you hover over this more section, you can get like a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So let's say you just want a really quick survey of where's everybody at. You just taught this new concept and you want to get a feel for generally how are people doing. I've done this in my class. So the ability to do this on Zoom is kind of nice. If you ask everybody, hey, so polynomials, how'd that go? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, so that we can kind of figure out, do we keep going? Can we move on? Your students can move over to their Zoom screen, and the participants tab here, they can raise their hand for a question. And then you can check it out here. Oh snap, look, Mr. Travis Otwell has a question. Let's get to that. You can keep an eye on that. Or if you ask them for the thumbs up, thumbs down, you definitely want to teach them how to use the participants window, or this just doesn't work. So they can scroll over that more button and get you the little thumbs up, and then boom, over here on your teacher screen, you've got that thumbs up. You get that quick visual of where everyone's at. And because you can resize this participants window, however big you need it, but you can have a big chunk of your students just at a glance, where they're at. You'll be able to scroll up and down when there's more participants to view. And I just think this is a great way to keep a tab on, hey, how's everybody feeling? Another good thing to know about the participants panel is that sometimes you may have somebody who's being inappropriate. They're not doing what they need to do. They're not saying what they need to say. You can control that, okay? Sometimes you may have forgotten to select mute mic upon entry or something, and somebody pops in the meeting and their mic is going off, or you ask people to talk and so they flip their mic on, and then because their mic is still on, it's causing feedback when somebody else tries to talk. I'm sure we've all been in that situation, and you're like, oh, please, person, turn off your mic if you're not talking. We all know. We've been there, right? So you as the host can actually control that. And I actually do this when I'm hosting Zoom meetings. So this is what you need to do. You hover over that person's name and click the more button. You can actually force stopping their video, okay? So once you click that, now that other participant doesn't have video anymore. You can't force them to start video, and you can't force them to turn their mic on, but you can actually request that they start the video through a little prompt. Another thing you can do is if you get the trippy echo, and you need somebody to turn off their echo, you can just hover over their name and click mute. Boom. Now their mic's gone, and that doesn't happen anymore. You've saved the meeting and everyone's sanity. So just know these are options for you. It's actually kind of nice to have that control. The other things you can do here on the more options is you can make them a host. So if you have a co-teacher or something, you would want to do that. It gives them permissions to do everything that you can do. You can also select an option for you to rename them. So if you click that, you can type their name in. So if they've created an inappropriate name and somehow they slipped into the meeting, then you can just go ahead and force the change. Or if it's just real bad stuff and they just need to get out, you can click remove. The last part about the participants panel that you need to know about is this little more button here. If you click it, it gives you some extra options here. The biggest thing I want to highlight is you want to mute participants upon entry. How many times have you jumped into a Zoom meeting and then you hear some random dog barking, or Lord forbid, somebody just speaking unkind words, we could say. You can just avoid all of that and mute them on entry. So then they have to actually click the button. Yes, I want to share my audio. I want to be able to engage in the meeting. So you want to click this. I'm going to have another video just on how to really customize the settings to set you up for success, so you don't have to deal with all this extra stuff while you're in the meeting. This is nice. You want to be able to let the kids or the participants unmute themselves. Hopefully you're trying to figure out the best possible way to make an engaging lesson on Zoom. I know that it's going to be so hard, but let's just try to do this together, okay? Let's be for the people, for the students. I know that if you're a teacher, you've sat in professional developments for hours, like in one day. And I know for me, at the end of the day, I couldn't take it anymore. So let's try to make our lessons as engaging as possible, give them an opportunity to talk, please. So let's get off that soapbox and keep going here. Play sound, you could do that if you want. Allow participants to rename themselves. Personally, I'm going to keep this unchecked. What I have seen, though, in really great professional development that I attended was they created breakout rooms, which I'll talk about here soon, and they allowed the participants to rename themselves based off the room they want to talk about. So they're like, okay, we've got 3 discussion points here. Which point do you want to join in? Go ahead and rename yourself where it's your name with the breakout room you want to be on. And to do that, you just scroll up to the participants panel here, and you can click the more button and click rename. A little chat thing pops up, you just type it. And the last thing that I would say to keep in mind is you can enable the waiting room, which personally I'm going to do. I know that it's like a hiccup, you know, for participants trying to enter, but really you want to keep the security of your Zoom call as high as possible. You don't want rando people popping in without any sort of warning for you. In the waiting room, you'll be able to see their name, email address, all that good stuff, and you'll be able to vet who is able to actually enter the room. So I would keep that checked. Now on to the chat box. The biggest thing here is if you select this little button with the 3 dots, you can save the chat. So that's good. Another thing you can do is control how participants chat with one another. Its default setting is everyone publicly. So anyone can type anything on your chat. I wouldn't do that personally. I've taught long enough to know that that will be abused. So one option that I like personally is host only. What this allows is you can still chat to everybody, right? Hey there, class. You know, that'll pop up to everybody, but you can also select private people that you want to talk to. Hey, Mr. Otwell, great job listening. And that will send a message to Mr. Otwell. Privately, that won't pop up on everybody else's feed. As you can see right over here, right? There it is. This one went to everybody. This one just went to Mr. Otwell, who is the participant who's just patiently listening or talking. I don't even know. So it's nice because you have the ability to control who's talking to who and what that looks like. So keep that in mind. Thanks for checking this video out. Make sure to keep an eye out for my next video. I'll be talking about how to use breakout rooms effectively in Zoom. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. Mr. Otwell out. Peace.